throne room had never been so silent. It was not the peaceful silence that followed prayer or wisdom. It was the silence that came before storm. The words King Arinzi had spoken still echoed against the carved walls of the royal hall.
Go now.
Arrest the Queen Mother Kayamika and Princess Ataku. Both of them. Hold them securely until the police arrive. No one moved. Even the soldiers hesitated. For generations, the Queen Mother had stood above ordinary authority. She had been the woman every servant bowed to, the woman whose commands shaped life inside the palace. To place chains upon her wrists, it felt almost impossible. Queen Mother Kayamika slowly rose from her chair. Her face showed neither fear nor regret. Instead, her eyes burned with the pride of a lioness cornered in her own den. So, she said calmly, it has come to this. King Arinzi did not answer immediately. His hands rested firmly on the arms of his throne. His face carried neither anger nor satisfaction, only pain. A pain so deep that even breathing appeared difficult. Captain Natazi stepped forward. Your Majesty. His voice trembled. The order? Arinzi looked directly into his captain's eyes. Carry it out. The captain swallowed hard. As you command, my king. 4 royal guards advanced. Their footsteps echoed across the polished marble floor. Princess Atika's confidence vanished instantly. She rushed toward the Queen Mother. Mama? Her voice cracked. They cannot do this. Queen Mother Kayamika placed one hand on Attika's shoulder. Stand straight. But I said stand straight. Attika obeyed. Years of discipline had taught her never to question that tone. The guard stopped a respectful distance away. Captain Natazi bowed. Your Majesty. He paused before correcting himself. Queen Mother. We have orders. She laughed. It was not loud. It was worse. It was the laugh of someone insulted beyond measure. You. She looked each guard in the eye. You boys watched me raise this kingdom. You learned to salute because I taught discipline inside these palace walls. You ate food from kitchens I supervise, and today, you believe you can arrest me? None of the guards answered. Captain Natazi lowered his eyes. My duty is to the crown. The crown? She looked toward Arinzi. I gave birth to the crown. Her words struck everyone present. Even Arinzi closed his eyes for a moment. Queen Mother Kayamika continued. Tell me, Captain, when your king was learning to walk, who held his hands? When fever nearly took his life at 3 years old, who stayed awake every night? When enemies threatened this palace after King Obina died? Who protected this throne until he was ready? I did. She struck her chest. And today, my own son rewards me with chains. The guards remained frozen. Arinzi finally stood. His royal robe flowed behind him as he descended the steps toward his mother. Every eye followed him. He stopped only a few feet away. His voice was quiet. So many things you have said are true. You raised me. You protected this kingdom. You carried father's legacy. I have never forgotten any of it. Queen Mother Kayamika smiled slightly. For one brief second, she believed she had reached him. Then Arinzi continued. But today, you stand accused of attempting to murder my wife. He took another step. And my children. Another. You stand accused of poisoning the Queen of Dika Kingdom over many weeks. Another. You stand accused of betraying every oath this palace represents. The smile disappeared. My mother gave me life. The Queen Mother taught me duty. But the king. His voice became steel. The king serves justice. If I cannot uphold justice inside my own family, I have no right to sit upon this throne. The hall erupted in murmurs. No ruler before him had ever spoken such words against his own blood. Captain Natazi drew a deep breath. Proceed. 2 guards approached. This time, Queen Mother Kayamika did not resist. Instead, she lifted her wrists. If you wish to disgrace yourselves, then do it. Metal cuffs closed around the wrists that had once worn the kingdom's greatest jewels. A gasp swept through the palace staff gathered near the entrance. Several elderly servants burst into tears. Not because they believed her innocent, but because they never imagined seeing this day. Princess Attica was next. Unlike the Queen Mother, she resisted. No, she struggled against the guards. I did nothing. I never poisoned anyone. I only listened. I only obeyed. The words escaped before she realized their meaning. Everyone froze. Even the guards. Arinzi slowly turned toward her. You only obeyed? Attica's face turned white. She covered her mouth. Queen Mother Kayamika closed her eyes. One careless sentence. Years of planning. Destroyed. Attica began sobbing uncontrollably. I never wanted anyone to die. I swear. I only wanted. Her knees gave way. I only wanted him to love me. Silence. No one mocked her. No one comforted her. She had become a tragic figure. A woman whose dreams had been manipulated until she could no longer distinguish love from obsession. Queen Mother Kayamika spoke coldly. Enough. Attica looked up. Do not cry. They feed upon weakness. But I said enough. Attica wiped her tears. The Queen Mother's composure remained astonishing. She looked once more at Arinzi. So, this is justice. He nodded. This is justice. No. She smiled sadly. This is revenge disguised as justice. Without another word, the guards escorted both women toward the palace entrance. Their footsteps echoed through corridors they had ruled for decades. Elsewhere in the royal hospital wing, Queen Adora cradled her sleeping daughter. Little Princess Amara rested peacefully against her chest. Nearby, Prince Obina slept in a cradle beside the bed. The room smelled of herbs and fresh linen. For the first time in many months, peace. Then the door opened. Mama Adora entered quietly. Her face carried unusual concern. Adora immediately noticed. Mama, what happened? Mama hesitated. The king. She sat beside her daughter. He has arrested the Queen Mother. Adora stared. What? And Princess Attica. The room became still. Adora looked down at her children. So, it is true. Mama nodded. The maid confessed. The doctor confirmed everything. The poison. The investigation. It all leads back to the Queen Mother. Adora closed her eyes. One tear escaped. Mama expected anger. Instead, Adora whispered, I prayed it wouldn't be her. Mama frowned. After everything she did? Adora nodded slowly. I still prayed. Because once it became her, there would never again be peace in this family. She looked toward the window. My husband has lost his mother today. Mama gently touched her shoulder. No. He lost her the day she chose hatred over love. Adora remained silent. Back inside the palace, the servants had gathered in whispers. Old cook Ngozi leaned against the kitchen doorway. I always knew. Another maid looked shocked. You knew? Ngozi sighed. Not about poison, but hatred. I have served this palace 32 years. I watched the late king love every child who entered these gates. When Adora came, I saw something different. The Queen Mother never looked at her. She looked through her. Others nodded. One elderly gardener spoke quietly. We were all afraid. Afraid to say anything. Afraid to even comfort the girl. The palace, for the first time, was speaking honestly. Years of fear had begun to crumble. Just before the convoy departed, another figure arrived. An old man dressed in white, barefoot, staff in hand. Ojika. The palace guards immediately recognized him. The eye of the gods. He requested audience with the king. Within minutes, he stood inside the throne room. Arinzi looked exhausted. You wished to see me? Ojika bowed deeply. I did. Is it concerning today's events? It concerns your life. The king frowned. My life? Yes. And your father's? Arinzi stiffened. My father? Ojika nodded. I ask that everyone leave. The king glanced around. Only Captain Nadazi remained. Ojika shook his head. Everyone. After a moment, Arinzi agreed. The enormous doors closed. Only 2 men remained inside the throne room. One king. one old priest. Ojika leaned heavily upon his staff. There is something I should have told you many years ago. What is it? It concerns your birth. Arinzi's expression hardened. I am not in the mood for riddles. This is no riddle. Ojika drew a long breath. The late King Obina was not your biological father. Silence. Absolute silence. Arinzi stared, then laughed once. Only once. What? Ojika did not smile. The late king could not father children. Arinzi's eyes narrowed. Enough. I speak only truth. My mother told you this?
No.
I already knew.
How?
Because. Ojika struggled to continue. Because I am your father. The king's face emptied of all expression. For several seconds. Nothing existed. Not the throne. Not the palace. Not the kingdom. Only those impossible words. You. Ojika nodded. Yes. Arinzi stepped backward.
No.
It cannot be. It is. My father was King Obina. He raised you. He loved you. He was your father in every way that mattered. But your blood is mine. Arinzi's breathing became uneven. Explain. Ojika lowered himself onto one knee. Many years ago, your mother came to my shrine. She and King Obina had no child. The kingdom prepared to remove him from the throne. The ancestors demanded an heir. There existed an ancient ritual, a sacred union, one that could only occur with the consent of the queen. Arinzi whispered. My mother agreed. She begged. She wanted to save her husband, to save the throne. I believed I was serving the kingdom. My role ended the day she conceived. I never sought you. I never claimed you. I watched from afar. I kept the secret. The king's hands shook.
No.
You lie. I wish I did. The great doors suddenly opened. Captain Nadazi entered. Your Majesty, the Queen Mother refuses to leave until she speaks with you. Arinzi stood frozen. Bring her. Moments later, Queen Mother Kayamika entered, still wearing handcuffs, still dignified, still proud. She noticed Ojika immediately. Her face changed. So, you told him? Ojika answered quietly. I had no choice. Arinzi looked between them. Tell me. His voice barely existed. Tell me he lies. The Queen Mother closed her eyes. When she opened them again, years of secrets poured from her soul. He does not lie. Arinzi's knees nearly failed him. My father. She interrupted softly. King Obina loved you. He believed you were his miracle. I allowed him to believe it, because he deserved happiness. And because this kingdom needed stability. Tears formed in her eyes. For 28 years, I carried this burden alone. Arinzi whispered, all my life has been built on a lie. No. She shook her head. On sacrifice. I sacrificed my honor. Ojika sacrificed a son. King Obina unknowingly sacrificed his truth. So that you could become the king this kingdom desperately needed. Arinzi looked at Ojika, then at the woman who had raised him. His entire identity fractured before him. The attempted murder, the betrayal, the arrest. None of it prepared him for this. Outside the throne room, the palace bells began to ring. News of the Queen Mother's arrest had already spread through Dika Kingdom. But before sunset, another truth would spread. A truth capable of shaking the kingdom more than any scandal before it. The king of Dika no longer knew who he truly was. And neither did his kingdom. The throne room remained silent long after Queen Mother Kayamika admitted the truth. No one spoke. No one breathed loudly enough to disturb the crushing weight that had settled over the hall. King Arinzi stared at the woman who had raised him. The same woman who had taught him how to walk. The same woman who had held him whenever nightmares frightened him as a child. The same woman who had just confessed that the greatest truth of his life had never belonged to him. His lips moved, but no words came. He looked toward Ojika. The old priest did not lower his head. His eyes were filled with sorrow. Not pride. Not triumph. Only sorrow. I never wanted this day to come, Ojika whispered. Arinzi slowly shook his head. No. His voice was barely audible. No. He took another step backward until the edge of the throne struck the back of his legs. I buried my father. His eyes filled with tears. I buried King Obina with my own hands. I carried his coffin. I stood before his grave. I promised to rule as he ruled. His voice cracked. Do not take him away from me. Ojika closed his eyes. I cannot. You already have. The king's hands trembled violently. Queen Mother Kayamika suddenly spoke. No. Both men turned toward her. No one will ever take King Obina away from you. Arinzi stared at her. She continued quietly. A father is not merely the man whose blood flows through your veins. A father is the man who stays. The man who teaches. The man who sacrifices. The man who loves. Her own tears finally escaped. King Obina loved you before you were born. He prayed for you every sunrise. He celebrated every birthday. He feared every illness. He stood awake outside your room every night you had fever. She smiled through tears. When you first called him father, I thought his heart would burst from happiness. Arinzi lowered his head. His shoulders shook. He knew nothing? Kayamika answered immediately. Nothing. He died believing heaven had finally answered his prayers. Silence returned. Ojika slowly nodded. That is true. I never once approached him. I never attempted to claim you. I was forbidden. And I obeyed. Arinzi looked at him. Forbidden by whom? The ancestors. The king's expression hardened. The ancestors? Ojika nodded. The ritual existed for only one purpose. To preserve the kingdom. Not to create divided families. The child belonged completely to the royal household. Once life began, my duty ended. Arinzi laughed bitterly. So all these years, you watched me from a distance? Yes. You watched me become a prince. Yes. You watched me become king. Yes. And you said nothing? Ojika lowered his eyes. I believe silence was my final sacrifice. The king turned away. His heart felt heavier than armor. Every memory of childhood flooded back. King Obina teaching him swordsmanship. King Obina lifting him onto his shoulders during festivals. King Obina correcting his handwriting. King Obina laughing whenever he lost at board games. Not once had that man treated him as anything less than his own son. His father. The title remained. No revelation could erase 28 years of love. Yet another question refused to leave his mind. He slowly turned toward Kayamika. Why now? She answered without hesitation. Because you deserve truth.
No. He shook his head.
Why today? After 28 years? She looked toward the palace windows. Because secrets eventually become poison. Her own words seemed to wound her. I learned that too late. The irony struck every person in the room. Poison. The very weapon she had used against Adora. The very thing that had brought every hidden sin into daylight. For the first time since entering the throne room, Queen Mother Kayamika appeared old. Not weak. Simply tired. Very tired. She slowly sat upon one of the wooden benches. The handcuffs resting around her wrists clinked softly. I suppose, she whispered, this story should have ended differently. Arinzi remained silent. She continued. 29 years ago, the kingdom nearly died. At that time, King Obina had already ruled for 6 years. He was respected,
Wise.
patient, just. The people loved him. But love alone could not silence tradition. Every council meeting ended with the same question. When will the kingdom receive an heir? Every harvest festival carried the same whispers. No prince. No princess. No future. Neighboring kingdoms watched carefully. Some smiled. Others sharpened swords. A kingdom without succession invited invasion. Queen Kayamika had tried everything. The palace physicians, herbal healers, sacred rivers, pilgrimages. Months became years. Nothing changed. Finally, The royal physician delivered news neither husband nor wife wished to hear. The problem did not lie with the queen. It lay with the king. King Obina could never father children. The physician begged forgiveness before speaking those words. The king dismissed everyone else from the chamber. Only Kayamika remained. Neither spoke for a long time. Then, Obina smiled. It was a broken smile. I suppose. The ancestors had other plans. Kayamika burst into tears. He held her, not because he was strong, but because she was breaking. That night, neither of them slept. Before sunrise, Obina made the hardest decision of his life. If the kingdom must choose, he whispered, it should choose another king. Kayamika refused immediately.
No.
You are the rightful ruler. The kingdom needs an heir. The kingdom needs you. He smiled sadly. It needs both. Within weeks, several chiefs quietly began discussing succession. Nobody dared challenge Obina openly.
Not yet.
But ambition had awakened.
Then,
one night, the oldest council elder visited the palace. He arrived alone, without guards, without ceremony. His words changed everything. There is one ancient law. One forgotten by almost everyone. One preserved only by the shrine of the ancestors. A sacred union. A ritual of sacrifice. No romance. No family. No future claims. Only duty. Only survival. The child born through that ritual would legally belong to the king. Forever. The ritual required absolute secrecy. Only 4 people could ever know. The king, the queen, the priest, and the chief elder. If revealed, the kingdom itself could fracture. King Obina rejected the idea instantly. I will not ask my wife to bear such shame. But Kayamika interrupted him. If it saves the kingdom. He looked horrified.
No.
She held both his hands. You saved me when I entered this palace as a frightened bride. You never allowed anyone to insult me. You honored me. You loved me. Now, allow me to protect everything we built together. Obina cried, perhaps for the only time in his adult life. Days later, both of them walked together to Ojika's sacred shrine. No celebration awaited them. No music. No witnesses. Only sacrifice. The ancient priest accepted only after repeated refusals. He warned them, this child will never be mine. Obina nodded. He will always be ours. The ritual ended. Months later, the queen conceived. The kingdom erupted with celebration. Drums echoed for days. Markets overflowed. People declared the ancestors had smiled once again. Only 4 people knew the truth. And they carried it alone. The flashback ended. The throne room had become unbearably quiet. Arinzi stood without moving. Every piece finally fit together. Every unexplained glance. Every strange conversation. Every mystery. He whispered, so, my entire life, my father protected a secret that wasn't even his. Queen Mother Kayamika nodded slowly. He chose love. Arinzi closed his eyes. For the first time, since becoming king, he wept openly. Not for himself. For King Obina. A man history would never fully understand. A king who accepted another man's blood, simply to save his people. Arinzi fell to one knee. His tears landed upon the polished marble floor. I hope, he whispered, I have made you proud. No one answered. Yet somehow, the silence itself felt like King Obina's blessing. Far beyond the palace walls, the city of Dika buzzed with rumors. The Queen Mother has been arrested. The princess too. They poisoned the queen. No, I heard something worse. The king is not truly royal. Nobody knew the complete truth. Yet rumors rarely needed facts. They grew with every telling. Merchants abandoned their stalls to gossip. Farmers paused in their fields. Women whispered at village wells. Children repeated stories they barely understood. Fear spread faster than truth. Inside the hospital wing, Queen Adora watched the sunset through the window. Little Amara slept peacefully. Prince Obina stirred softly in his cradle. Mama Adora entered again. The palace is restless. Adora sighed. I can feel it. What troubles you? Adora looked toward the horizon. The poison was never the end. It was only the door. Mama frowned. What do you mean? Adora gently kissed her daughter's forehead. My husband carries the weight of an entire kingdom. And today, I fear that burden has become almost impossible to bear. At that very moment, King Arinzi stood alone before the enormous portrait of King Obina. The painting showed his father wearing royal blue robes. One hand rested upon a ceremonial sword. His eyes carried the same kindness they always had. Arinzi stepped closer. He touched the frame. Softly. You were never my father by blood. His voice broke. But you will always be my father. He bowed his head before the portrait. Then he made a decision. One that would shape the future of Dika Kingdom. He summoned Captain Natazi. The captain arrived immediately. You called, Your Majesty? Arinzi turned slowly. No one. He spoke carefully. No one outside this room must learn the truth about my birth. The captain nodded. Understood. The Queen Mother's crimes will face justice. Ojika's confession remains sealed. My father's honor. He looked once more at King Obina's portrait. Will never be stained. Captain Natazi placed his fist over his heart. As long as I breathe. Arinzi looked toward the darkening sky beyond the palace windows. He believed he had made the right choice. He did not know that beyond the palace gates, someone else had already overheard enough of the conversation. Someone hidden in the shadows. Someone who understood exactly how valuable the king's greatest secret could become. And before another sunrise, that secret would become the most dangerous weapon Dika Kingdom had ever known.